New York bound, New Paltz, New York bound, I-95. DC Overby. I'm coming to New Paltz, New York. We're going to be sleeping in some slave dwellings in New Paltz, New York. Yeah, DC. It happened there in New York City also. The state of New York also. So I'm going to come in your way to spread the word. Do this thing that we do. The slave dwelling project. I've gone to 5 northern states so far. In fact, we're just leaving Annapolis, Maryland. We stayed in the James Bryce house last night in Annapolis, Maryland.
Historic Huguenot Street and the Department of Black Studies here at SUNY New Paltz are hosting an overnight visit by Joseph McGill, the founder of the Slave Dwelling Project. Founded in 2010, the nonprofit organization's mission is to identify and assist property owners, government agencies, and organizations in preserving our country's surviving slave dwellings. Joseph McGill travels the country, spending the night in historic slave dwellings to bring awareness to their existence, history, and need for preservation.
I want guests to take away the fact that slavery was not just a Southern thing. Although in 1861, when the Civil War started, there were 15 slaveholding states, and those states were Southern states and the District of Columbia. But they need to embrace the fact that in their history, if they go back far enough, that institution was very much a part of the founding of this nation, the founding of this state, and the people who were enslaved mattered. And no, the slavery that existed in these northern states was not any better than the slavery that existed in those southern states. These people were still enslaved. These people were a system of chattel slavery. Not only were they enslaved, but their children and their children's children will be enslaved. Our founding fathers set this nation on a path that would actually lead us or set us up for the shortcomings that we have today. That institution left a legacy on this nation that we're still dealing with today, and folks should go away with that understanding.
The interpretive experience began to change here in 2010. One critical turning point was the gift of a very special donation to Huguenot Street. A descendant who's here this evening, Audrey Foster, entrusted to our care a slave collar that had been in her paternal grandmother's family for generations. Engraved on this cool steel collar is a plate, and on the plate it has the inscription, E. Hardenberg. For those of you who may not know or not aware, the Hardenbergs were the enslavers of Sojourner Truth. And if you aren't aware of Sojourner Truth, she was one of our nation's few great abolitionists whose writings we have relied on here to help our visitors understand the slave experience. And it's important for us to recognize Sojourner Truth was born within the boundaries of the New Paltz patent. This extraordinary object is on display here tonight. If you haven't been in the middle of the court, I encourage you to go in to see it. It's this debut, but it along with it are other truths that we know here on Huguenot Street. And these are the documents that are contained in our archives. They tell dates and names of those enslaved, and we continue to do research on this. Some of them are in German, some of them are in German, but some are in Dutch, French, English. And if you look at these original documents, it just does touch you in a way that is deep. So I want Audrey to come up here for a few minutes. This gift really was the turning point for us in our interpretation, because with her gift came this responsibility to do something with this important artifact. And without her contribution, And without her own journey, we wouldn't probably have come as far as we have today.
We as preservationists want to focus on the architecturally significant buildings, the houses on the hill, the iconic buildings. And when we as preservationists preserve antebellum buildings, that's buildings built prior to the Civil War, we tend to want to tell the stories of those who enslaved. But we leave out the stories of those who were enslaved. That's leaving out my story. That's leaving out Terry's story. And as I survey this diverse crowd, it's leaving out the stories of about half of the people that I'm seeing in this audience. So sometimes you recognize a problem, and then you make the statement, somebody should do something about that. Well, I was that somebody.